I could go on a long time about this, and I don't intend to, but I want to talk for a moment about vision as something that is different from purpose. I've spent endless Saturdays with PCCs over the years, crafting vision statements, and they've come up with a whole side of A4 with about 24 bullet points, and with great applaud they put it up at the back of the church, and nobody ever reads it, and nobody ever remembers it, and it was a kind of waste of time. I want to suggest to you that the best kind of vision you can ever have is a story about the future. I wish to eradicate all vision statements that say our vision is to do something or other. If you think about the biblical experience of visions, they all come to us in the night or on the mountaintop. They come as an already shaped and finished story. They don't come as an intentional action plan. That's what purpose is. Purpose is, what are we going to do to make this dream of the future come true here? And one of the things I think churches should do more of is to sit down and say, in 5 years' time, what are people going to be saying about this church? What kind of story are they going to be telling about this church, about its life? The great visionary speech of Martin Luther King is not an instruction or an exhortation to get up and do anything. It's a painting of a picture of what it will be like. I have a dream that one day my little black children and white children will play together. That's all you need. And then, of course, he goes into quoting Isaiah. So here's a question that's a slightly different way of doing it. If I was to ask you about your church, tell me what dream you have about it. That's vision. And it needs to be told in a story form. One day, I have a dream that my little children... The best example of getting vision right and getting it wrong is in Shakespeare's Henry V. In Shakespeare's Henry V, you remember, before the battle, he says, once more into the breach defends, and we will pile up the gap with our English dead. Very visionary speech. And Shakespeare, immediately after it, gives a little scene to the three goons in the play. And the boy says to Botolph, actually, I'd rather be in a pub in Sheep Street. You know, this is the great exhortation speech, killed right dead. Then you remember what Henry V does. He puts a cloak on, he takes off his royal clothes, he walks around the troops at night, and then he goes to his meeting with his lieutenants. And he says, tomorrow is St. Crispin's Day. And when we get home, and you're back home, when St. Crispin's Day cometh, you will roll up your sleeves and you will look at your scars and you will say, I was there on St. Crispin's Day. There's a story about the future. He's painted a picture about what it will be like. That's why we love heaven, because it's a picture of the future. That's what vision is. And we should simply learn to tell stories about the future of the church. And then purpose is, so what? How are we going to do it? What are we going to do? And one of the best ways of shaping that is to say, so what's the purpose of your church? I've kind of given myself a moratorium on ever using the word mission. Again, I am, because it seems to me mission so easily shifts us into vision as well as purpose. What's the purpose of your church? One of the best, and that should be answered in one sentence. One sentence You know, you may be used to doing that for vision. What's the purpose of your church? You can ask it another way, and Jim Collins in his book From Good to Great asks it in a great way. If your church ceased to exist, who would notice and what would they miss? Who would notice and what would they miss? Because what they would miss is what is your distinctive and discreet and essential gift to the people where your church is. We have this notion at Sarum College that our purpose is to create learning that nourishes the human spirit. It's clear. It's all we say. And everything we do, we lay under the anvil. We hammer out on the anvil of, will this nourish the human spirit? So what's the purpose of your church? You've got a vision. You've got a dream of what it could be like, what it might be like. And you've got a purpose. And you need to attend to both. Because both of them live in leaky buckets. Paul Williams, Bishop of Kensington, has got the idea that whatever you have in the church is a leaky bucket. And if you don't keep filling it up, it'll drain out. And you may think you've done vision. My Bishop Richard of Oxford kind of believed that you only had to do anything you only had to do once. Get a vision, tell everybody what it is, and that will be, as it were, locked in forever. It drains away. It leaks away. So you have to put energy all the time into vision and purpose.